Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Lia.
Do you know what movie is coming out?
Yeah, Where the Crawdads Sing.
Where the Crawdads Sing!
I know.
This is like a book reader's wet dream in August to be able to see on the screen Where the Crawdads Sing. This is probably the book of the decade that people have been reading and talking about all around the world. Because we live here in Sweden and it's translated in this language, and all of the peoples that I know have read this book, including my in-laws and my sister-in-law, also my parents-in-law.
And have you met anyone who didn't like it?
No, everyone likes it.
Yeah,
that's
no
what
one.
I mean. Book of the decade.
Met anyone
Where the Crawdads Sing.
It was amazing.
It was really good. And the actual preview or trailer for the movie looks really good also.
Yes.
So I look forward to it. I'm super excited about it too. But this week we read, because there's just no way that you could read Full Tilt and not continue into the next one. Immediately. He dies at the end. He says goodbye to everyone. She gets this fear and she's so emotional that their love is the universe. And then it's what?
Yeah. And then you pick up book number 2 and you're like, okay, time to start healing. And then you get to relive the death one more time from another person's perspective. And it's just a kick. It's just a kick in the gut, and it's please cry more. So another half an hour of crying, solidly in the beginning of book 2.
In this book, it continues
by Emma Scott.
It continues about Casey's story after Jonah, and the start of the book is his brother Theo going into the hospital room, and we know from the end of the last book he made everybody make promises to him before he died.
I'm extracting promises, because it's my right as a dying man.
Exactly. And he makes Theo promise him to love her
and take care of Casey.
Yeah. He said,
and he says what he says, and it's beautiful because he says, love her, and I am so happy it is you.
Yeah.
I am so happy it is you
that's
going to love her,
amazing.
And that she's going to love back.
I'm so happy that's you. But he calls him out immediately, goes into the room, and he says, so you're in love with Casey. And the brother is
you're in love with Casey. And he's
awkward moment. But how respectful of Theo, because you see it when he steps into that apartment and he sees her and he stops.
Yeah, but even her, honestly, in book 1, when she sees Theo the first time, she's like, that's
the
kind of guy I usually go for. And it's there. I mean, all the clues are there, really. Yeah. Unfortunately, they gave him a bad narrator in the book. Did you? I didn't get that?
But Teddy Hamilton is a narrator that's in a ton of books that I listen to, so I don't mind him at all. The only thing that I saw of your point of view of the narrator is that Theo's voice is supposed to be so much deeper than Jonah's, and they talk about the deepness of his tone of voice all the time throughout the first book. Then we get another narrator whose tone of voice is not deeper than the last narrator, so you're kind of a little thrown off if that's what you're expecting. But he's not a bad narrator by any means.
But can I say, when talking about this, I'm currently finished with these books, of course, and I started reading another one of Emma Scott's books called The Butterfly Project, which actually picks up the story of another character in the Full Tilt and All In duet, cool. Zelda, who works in the tattoo shop where Theo works. And she's in New York and she meets this guy, and the female narrator does this amazing boy New York accent, but then the male narrator does not. And it's throwing me so much, because whenever he does the voice, I'm like, can we have the girl do your voice instead? Because it's much better when she does it.
I found that so much lately that I'm enjoying female narrators way more than male narrators for their use of the male's voice. To me, the double perspective could have just been her doing the male voice.
Yeah, can we just have her do the New York male voice? It would have been great. I would have loved it. Okay. Anyways, I didn't like his narration. I really didn't. I found it to be slow, too, the way he speaks. And it's just... It was almost to the point where I could go, the end, in between words.
Oh, I
sentences.
see what you mean. Yes.
And I'm like, God, no.
He also has a little bit of a younger tone to it, but
Yeah.
Theo is the younger brother,
Yes.
but you just don't expect it to feel so much younger.
No.
So I see what you mean by that. The narrator, it does good other voices too, so he's like an overall good narrator, but for Theo, it didn't suit him.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator didn't suit Theo.
Yeah. No, it didn't. It really did not. But I was honestly, as heartbroken as I was by Jonah dying in book 1, I was weirdly on board with Theo and Casey from the get-go of book 2.
I was not for like till the end.
Now, I was weirdly on board, and I was like almost getting a little bit annoyed with how long it took for them to get together. But then at the end, I appreciate how long it took, because it meant that she actually went through all of her stages of grief, and she actually came out at a place where she was able to love again, instead of just rushing it, which would have, if they would have rushed it, I would have been like, unbelievable. Yeah. But I wanted it to happen, so I was like, come on.
But basically, what happens at the beginning of this book is Casey goes on a bender for 6 months and is drunk.
Yeah.
For 6 whole months. She moves to Louisiana.
No, but she tries. Jonah dies. She tries to stay in her apartment. She tries to stay at her job. She tries to stay with the routine of going to Jonah's parents' house for the family dinners every week. And it's just too hard for her. Like, she cannot do it. So instead of being like a mature, actual person and saying, hey, this is difficult for me, I'm going to need to make some changes, she literally packs up a fucking car in the middle of the night and throws her phone into the desert and just disappears, like full on disappears, where they cannot reach her, making like in a way, like, I understand what she's trying to do, but it is so childish and selfish, because she does not think about what this would do to Theo, to Jonah's parents, and to the people that actually care about it, who have just lost Jonah. And now
they lose her.
They can't even know that she's okay, because she fucking threw her phone away and she's just gone, which is a very horrible thing to do, because, I mean, obviously it's like the cat in the box, you know, like, as long as you don't open the box, you don't know if the cat's alive and dead or dead, you know?
Good God.
But you know, but there's this thing, right? And Jonah is dead. We know he's dead, but the not knowing with her is gonna be torturous. Like, I can only imagine. Like, I would never obviously want anyone to be dead, but if someone was missing, the not knowing would kill me, I think.
And from her perspective, she's just trying to, like, escape, right? So her, like, escape method is drinking and also singing and writing songs. And she wrote, all of the songs she wrote were about her relationship with Jonah. They call her the drowning girl.
The drowned girl, because because she just cries. She's just drunk, she sings, and she just cries.
Yeah.
And none of her songs are recorded, so you can't listen to them anywhere, but when she plays them live, which she plays at 3 different clubs in New Orleans every week.
I know, that must be.
Thursday, Saturday, and like Wednesday.
Then you're going to go to a nightclub where you're just going to cry while you're drinking.
What is it? Because they say the date. It's Thursday and Saturday, but it's also one more day. Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday or something like that. And because it's like, it's the best day to work, because she had this joke with Jonah.
Wednesday to Saturday was the joke with Jonah.
Yeah.
But she talks to her, she has her universe sphere with her, and she talks to him, like, to the sphere, to Jonah. And
And he answers her saying, let me go.
I couldn't keep it together. Like, when she's talking to the sphere and telling him, like, about her day and how she, like, is not coping, and she needs him to come back. Just come back. Come on, come back.
And I was like, all like, let me go. And that's the voice she hears whenever she falls asleep, is like, let me go. Like,
and I'm like, no, you fucking materialize again. Like, you bring your body back here right now. This is not acceptable. I don't know, reincarnation shit. Like, if somebody's about to get hit by a bus, just jump into that body. I will love another body, but I need your soul to be here with me. And please come back. I swear to God, that's what I would do. I would be, like, creatively coming up with a way of how, like, spiritually I can be back together with my loved one.
But she's drunk, like she has her morning drink, she has her whole like drinking schedule like set up, like
her bedside drawer drink.
Like full on planned out to stay just drunk enough at all times to not have to feel shit. And then there's one bouncer at one of the clubs.
Yeah.
Or was it bartender?
Both. He's like a part of that club.
Yeah, and Big E, and he's worried about her. Like he's concerned for her well-being because she's drunk all the time. And so he listens and he tries to get her to talk about her family and she won't, but he listens when she speaks and he figures out because she keeps talking about Teddy.
No, she's talking about Teddy to a random guy.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But Teddy is Theo. She calls Theo Teddy because Theo is named after his grandfather or something like that, who went by Teddy, but no one was allowed to call him Teddy, and Jonah would do it to tease him. And then when he did it, then Casey started calling him Teddy, and like Theo is okay with Casey calling him Teddy, and he doesn't. This is how we know he likes her in the first book, because he doesn't mind her calling him Teddy.
And Jonah's like, this is weird. Like, you're allowed to call him Teddy. You're the only person on the planet Earth that's allowed to call him
exactly. And then so Big E listens in on conversations she has with and she hears him mentioning this tattoo artist called Teddy in Las Vegas, and he calls every tattoo shop asking for Teddy.
Crazy.
And
a Teddy who knows a Casey.
No, he just asked for a tattoo artist named Teddy.
Yeah.
And Theo is in the shop and he overhears the receptionist going like, Teddy? No, we don't have a Teddy here. And he's like, oh my fucking God. And he runs and he takes the phone and he gets on the phone with Big E, who
thinking
says,
that it's her.
Do you know her? And he's like, yes, I do. Where is she? Can I? And then he's like, come
but he thinks she's dead.
Yeah, the Chacal bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. In New Orleans, he's like, come here and see me and I can maybe tell you where she is. If you like, when I lay eyes on you kind of thing.
When he gets this, like, is there a Teddy there? And he gets on the phone, he thinks it's going to be her. So he has like super high hopes. It's been 6 months. He hasn't heard from her. And then he gets on the phone and it's this man and he's like, she's dead. Yeah. Like, this guy's calling me because she's dead. But it turns out, well, she's a little half-seas dead, but not all the way dead.
No, but he's like, she's not in a good place. Can someone come? And he's like, I will come. And he basically screws everything up. Like, he's in school, he's getting his master's of business, he has work, and his mom, and I mean, I am a mom. I don't think I would hold it together very well if I lost any of my children. So I cannot judge her. I did judge her reading this because I found that she was being very difficult with Theo. Yeah. Like, she was asking a lot of him without being considerate of the fact that he does have a job that he needs to keep. She was not asking these things of her husband. And she's exceptionally judgy when it comes to Casey later on. Yeah. But then if I actually put on like how would I react if one of my, which I cannot think about because it just does not work in my mind. It's not going to happen. Exactly. Then I think I would be fairly fucking unreasonable too. So I cannot really fault her.
Yeah, sure.
But so he needs to go to New Orleans and he screws up all of this. He has these important exams at school and he might lose his job over this, but he's going to go. So he goes and he meets Big E. And after Big E kind of sees that he's okay, he tells him where to find Casey. And he goes and he sees her on stage. He gets to hear all these songs about Jonah. And he sees how sad she is. He sees her flirting with this guy afterwards. And then he sees her leave and he kind of chases after her.
Walks after her. Yeah. And then he finds her.
And she like throws her phone at him. Yeah. And she's like being very unreasonable.
Yeah. And
she's like, go away, throwing her phone like literally at his chest, and he's like, what the
and from the like contrast between him and Jonah, we see it a lot in the body also, like the description of how they are as like physical men. Mm-hmm. So Jonah was like really tall and like lean. He used to have more muscles before he got sick, but he got sick and then his muscles are a little bit not so much there. And he has like this bring home to the parents sort of nice look about him.
Like the boy next door kind of
exactly
clean cuts and
then Theo which is his brother, is a little bit opposite. Like shorter, bulkier, a lot of muscles. Like looks like he could have been in jail before because of all the tattoos and the muscles that he has on his body. And he's like stoic and grumpy and doesn't let people in.
Yeah. But Theo also struggles with family in a way because he is a tattoo artist and this is what he wants to do. He's an excellent artist and he really, really enjoys putting tattoos on people and having his artwork walk around and be like a living part of a person's life.
Yeah.
But his father does not approve of this at all. And Theo wants to start his own business. And Jonah left him some money
to get his own shop
from his gallery, like all the sales from his from the Wind Gallery show of his glass installation to start his own. So he's doing the business school classes to be a good businessman, to not fuck up starting his own shop, which is really, smart. Not jumping head first, but he just cannot get any recognitions from his father. He cannot get I'm proud of you, son. Yeah. He cannot get any support, nothing. Like his dad is just not okay. Like it's not cool. It's not cool the way neither of Theo's parents really act towards him there. Like as much as coming from a loving home and the way they rely on him, like particularly the mom, and the way he was with his brother, like he was there for all the doctor's appointment, and like he
brings
really
them on groceries.
He really took care of his brother when his brother was sick, and still the family is just like no, and they see it. They go. So when Casey has finished throwing her phone at him and decided that fine, he can stay. They go have a tarot reading at one point, one card each.
But she goes through like this really big...
Yeah, but they go have this tarot reading and he pulls the card for him that shows him as being like this protector, this person who's always there for people, but it never gets the recognition for it. And it's like, and it was a very sweet thing. But anyways, Casey throws her phone at him. They talk a little bit. They finally agree that he's gonna just, help her through this, and then...
But she breaks down, starts to cry, and then she says, help me. And then, because she tries to kick him out of the house, like, physically kick him, like, smash, throw things, get out of the house, and he just stands there, like, in his stoic person, like, mountain mode, and basically won't let her, like, give up. So,
and then she goes through detox, basically. She gets sober, and it's not a pretty journey.
It's 5 days of
and even the neighbor coming rushing in with a baseball bat because she's a nurse and she hears her screaming.
I know. I love that lady.
Yvonne. And when she figures out that Theo is not trying to harm Casey.
Yeah. But she's a big part of Casey's life also. After Casey gets clean. After Casey goes through the withdrawals, Yvonne's a nurse, so she's there, like, helping her with some things that she needed during that time, too. And I think with Theo at some point also. But they develop a really strong friendship. And then Casey has to go back to Vegas to see the family and tell them where the fuck she's been.
Yep.
And she is, like, honest with them and says... because the dad is so judgmental towards Theo. Like, you just gave up these, like, exams you're supposed to take for school. That means you're going to have to take another semester at school, and that costs a whole lot more money. And...
Because we're not in Sweden when this is free.
I know. This is a really, like, unusual treat to have free university here. But... anyway, so he has to pay more money to go back to school. And so then Casey is, like... seeing how awful they are, like, judgmental towards Theo. So she says, listen, I have been drunk for 6 months, like, every day, every night. I haven't been able to deal with it, and I just keep asking for Jonah to come back, and, like, I can't accept that he's dead, and that's why Theo had to come and save my life, because I was going to die, going to go be with Jonah, too, kind of thing. And then the dad actually, like, has a little moment of, like, weakness there. And he says, I didn't realize it was so bad.
Yeah.
And we're happy to still have you here. And, like good job son kind of thing for bringing Casey back to us. So but the parents see Casey as like a continuous like
an
living
extension of Jonah.
Jonah.
But it is very interesting, and I found throughout this book, because it's not just the parents, it is also Oscar and Dina, like the best friends.
Yeah.
The way Oscar is towards Theo, when Theo and Casey start developing emotions, like feelings for each other, and they start exploring this, it takes a really long time for them to get there, but when it actually happens, like Oscar gets angry and he's like, she is Jonah's, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think in a way, like, it was very interesting to read all of this because I never reflected on how, and I mean, of course you probably see like, that's my dead friend's girlfriend, of course she should be that for forever, it's hard to see someone move on and go on and do other things
because
when you
it's
saw
another
them
change that you have to deal
exactly.
with. Yeah.
And it was very well described and very well written. Like, I felt all of the feels in this, like, again.
I think the amount of research that this author has to do to, like, really put the emotions in, to have, like, the understanding of the loss, like, the grief from loss.
Yeah.
And also all of their, like, jobs and things. It wasn't just brushed over. They really intricately woven into like real life.
Yeah, and it's not like the job was waiting for them when they went and fucked up. Like they lost things. Like there was actual real life consequences to life, like the way it would be in real life. Like for sure. No, very, very, very well done.
The only thing that I didn't love about, so I wasn't sold on Theo and Casey so much because, like, of course I was so emotionally invested with Jonah and Casey, but I understand she's 24, she should move on also. And I appreciated that I saw the like threads of how Theo was in love with her from the beginning, and I wanted them to have a relationship, but I didn't love the way that it developed. It was slow and it was a friendship and it was like a long distance for a really long time. But they were both feeling guilty about the fact that they might have feelings for each other. And instead of it being like a kiss and then, me with communication and then a conversation, like, I have feelings for you, let's explore this, or by the way, I haven't stopped thinking about you since the moment I saw you, and I'm so glad you got to have that love with my brother, and do you have any more space for that love for me? Like, I was waiting for a conversation there, because then they just, one night, like, said goodbye to each other, went to the other person's house, and the other person went back home, and then she turns around and goes to his house, and she says, we don't need to talk. Like, they never had a conversation. And she says, we don't need to talk. And she just jumps his bones. And they have a kind of aggressive sex. And I thought, what?
Yeah, but
we get here?
I get what you're saying, but I think it's also realistic because I don't think everyone are great communicators. And I think in Casey and Jonah's case, there was a lot of conversation because Jonah was good at conversations and he was bringing them up and he was forcing her to put words on what she was feeling and what was happening and what was going on. Whereas Theo is more stoic and grumpy and he doesn't talk. And she says it a lot of time, it's all in his eyes. Like, it's not in his face, it's in his eyes. And I think with Casey, the way she's not great at communication, she drinks her problems away. Like, she's not going to talk about these things. And I think it would have been out of character, like extremely out of character for these two to actually sit down and be like, okay, let's talk about all of this, because it's not who they are and it's not what they would do. Much like me, I would have been like, or we cannot talk about this and just do other things and just never talk about this and just secretly, silently agree that we should not talk about this, but it's been agreed upon anyways, because who needs to talk about stuff? This is just awkward. And I
was thinking like, but the sex with Jonah was so much better. He was like dirty talking with her, got her so much into the mood. And then with Theo, it was like really aggressive. To the point of where there was no talking. There was like grunts. And there was like explanations of like moans and grunts and things like that. But if anyone started to say a word, they would be like no talking. Like they shut each other down. Like there was no dirty talking. in their section scenes, because I guess they're just not like that. And I was missing that.
Because you probably would have been better off with Jonah, because this is more of a communicative person. But I think we cannot expect everyone to be the same.
You're right.
Because everyone does not talk about everything. And I think for Casey, I mean, it would have been really out of character for her to sit down and talk to Teddy about this when, like, her reaction to Jonah dying was literally packing a car in the middle of the night. Like, this would have been like a full-on personality flip if she would have been like, I am now going to be mature and have a proper conversation grown up about this. Like, it's not who she is, and it's not who Teddy is either. So it would have probably felt weird if they would have had that conversation. I was waiting for it too, but I understood the way it was going because of who they were and their personalities. And I mean, again, all the credit to Emma Scott for building these rich characters.
That's really true.
Where I can sit here and say that's not who they are, like they're actual fucking real persons that I know. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, well done for these well-rounded and well-developed characters where we feel like we know them. Like, I feel like I know them. I feel like I would recognize them in the street. And
I can see Jonah in my head too. Like,
we are buddies. I've read about you having sex. So we are not
awkward
friends.
at all. But then after the, like, sex times, they're basically all in, like the book said, with their relationship. There's not a whole lot of communication about it other than, like, I love you, and we're all in. And they say that kind of a lot, too. Like, this is it. Yeah. Like, you're it for me. This is it. But then they have to go through this, like, explanation campaign around to their friends and family, like, this is now over a year because she was, like, drunk for 6 months and he helped her out. They were separated. Then there was another 6 months and then there was 1 year. And at the 1 years after when they started to have sex, and then, of course, they didn't tell everybody just that minute, but they decided that they didn't want to live apart anymore, that they wanted to live together. And
in all of this as well, Casey has been discovered by these producers, and she's actually getting her songs recorded, and she's actually starting to break through and making some money on this too. So she's not just like still the drowned girl in New Orleans. Like, she's shaping up her life.
And she's writing she's about to write different songs.
Yeah.
And in this next scene where she's going to have a meeting with Sony, they first go to the family to tell them about their relationship, and then she's having the meeting, like, on Monday, so she can't like stay long to have, like, the family weekend that she normally had with them. And
that's for Jonah's graduation, not for Theo's graduation. And Theo's mom is, like, not happy about seeing them together. Like,
they saw the graduation, how they looked at each other. Of course, only they know that they've like slept together at this point, but they plan to tell the family at dinner. And she sort of stands up for Theo and, like, storms out at that graduation dinner because they were, like, being so condescending and passive aggressive to him when he had this, like, big accomplishment. Because the reason why his dad's passive aggressive because he doesn't want to use the masters in business to open up a tattoo shop. Like, that's the be all and end all, that the dad was just, like, not impressed with the lifestyle of a tattoo artist / shop owner, whatever. Talked about the market being down and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I mean, I can get it. There's lots of tattoo shops in Vegas. It would be a difficult market to break through, but he is really talented and he's being featured in, like, tattoo magazines. And, like, he's building a name for himself. So
the family is not, like, in love with Theo's choices, which is why they were not in love with them together, because they just thought that Jonah was the.
But I think it's also, they see Casey as Jonah's.
Yeah.
And they cannot change the perspective of this. And they see Theo kind of as the fuck up in a way, even though he's not. Because he's been, like, the solid presence at all time. Like, it's not like he has fucked up anything. It's just by his choice of career, it's like, don't ruin this. Don't take Casey away from us. Don't, you know. But without realizing that if he's with Casey, she's actually gonna fully be a part of their family for, like, forever, instead of her meeting someone else and then there's only so much time you can spend with your dead boyfriend's parents once he's dead. You know, like, how long are you gonna go back and do weekly dinners once you start meeting someone else and you start having a family? Or are you still gonna be like, Saturday nights are for my dead boyfriend's parents, you know?
I see what you mean, but I was hoping that it would like at least continue but dwindle, you know, kind of thing.
But I mean, it would dwindle. That's what I'm trying to say. Like at some point, it's not going to be a priority anymore because she's going to have moved on. But when she's with Theo, she's going to be their actual daughter-in-law and she's going to be there forever, kind of thing. And they could continue treasuring. But then this book, because this was not heartbreaking enough, the beginning of losing Jonah and working our way through all of this book then makes Casey pregnant. And Theo is very, very happy about this, and they're telling the parents, they tell her parents, they tell his parents,
they tell the
and
parents everything in one day. Like, P.S. we're together, P.S. we're having a baby, P.S. we're moving in, P.S. it's going to be in Vegas. It's like a lot of information.
But they even tell her parents, and her mom at first does not react very well to it, but then she comes around. And then Casey is out shopping with Dina. And she gets like severe pain and bleeding, and it turns out that pregnancy was ectopic, which is like fucking horror show.
Really bad.
And it's blown out her fallopian tube, and she almost loses her life over it. I'm like, if they kill Casey too, like I'm gonna burn this book. Like, I am against book burning, but this book will burn if this happens.
I thought she was gonna be infertile from then.
But they lose the baby, and then she comes out of it saying she's okay, she's with Jonah, and Jonah takes care of this baby. And I was like,
could you keep it together for that?
No. I was like, don't fucking do this to me. Like, stop it, book.
The fact that he like put a gender to it too was like, she's with me. I'm like, she's with Jonah, took the baby. Like, now he has a part of you in heaven with him.
No, I could not. Like, and it is just so sad. And then it's not a lot after this. It jumps kind of into epilogue, like a few years in the future.
Well, because basically after that, like, life and death scare, the family comes around to accepting the relationship, and the dad then also comes around to accepting the tattoo shop.
That made me cry too.
It
with
did.
The fucking names.
Give
when
me the
he
name, put yours first,
them.
and now I have my son say, I know, I'm going to cry again.
Like,
it's not okay.
This is lovely. I love all of this.
I know, it was a beautiful thing.
Fucking hell. Yeah, this book, all of the feels.
But the epilogue really closes everything up. Like, Jonah's art installation got taken down from the Wynn and moved to Carnegie Mellon.
Yes.
In Pittsburgh. So they go to Pittsburgh to see it with their 2 kids.
Yes. And she's pregnant again.
Yeah. No, she has 1 kid and then a baby on the way, so.
Exactly. And Theo's a great father. And there's 2 girls.
Yeah. And
it was a lovely story.
And they talk about...
And if you are not done with these characters, there is a continuation with Zelda.
I had no idea.
Zelda is a girl that worked at the tattoo shop, and she goes on this date with Theo when he tries to get over Casey, and they go on a date, and she's like, just write to Casey and tell her you're having a shitty date. And she's basically like the trigger that gets them together, because Casey was going on a date, so Theo's like, I'm going to go on a date too, because I'm childish like this. And then by her stealing his phone and writing that message to Casey, this is how they get together, basically.
Right.
It was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And
highly recommend. But I miss Jonah, and I want Jonah to be reincarnated and be with that person.
And you need 2 boxes of Kleenex, at least.
It's just like so much leaking. Like just leaking nonstop. Emma Scott, what have you done to my cold soul?
You have broken us. We are broken.
But thank you for this book.
You.
They were beautiful. We love
so them. Lovely. And we love them so much. I mean, we do love them really, so much. Like, even book 2, even if you couldn't get on board proper with Theos, you still love that fucking book.
Yeah, love it. I seriously love it. I love all of it. I even love that they had a family. But when they go and see the art installation, I was like, Jonah. And you know what? I hate that name, Jonah. I really
Doesn't matter. We were okay with it. I don't like Teddy, but who cares? I was on board. I don't like Casey. I was annoyed that she wasn't Cassie, but
That's true.
I'm like, Cassandra should not be Casey. Whatever.
So the naming one. But no, we fell in love with them.
And I liked that she had enough insight into herself, Casey, that she was like, I'm not going to go on tour. I need to focus on writing. I don't need that kind of temptation and that kind of lifestyle. So she makes sure that she doesn't have to tour with the music. It was so good. It's so good. It's learning and it's growing and beautiful. And we love it. Go read it.
Highly recommend.
Highly recommend. And now for the next few weeks, the books will probably be shit because nothing will compare.
Is gonna
Nothing.
But you know
compare.
what? You can continue to read Emma Scott because she's got a shit ton of books.
But next week, we are reading Love Songs for Skeptics, right?
Yes.
So, Love Songs for Skeptics, just to not have to cry. All right, good. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia and The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'd rather be reading the pod at gmail.com. Thanks for listening.